You've been told that sharing everything in a relationship is the ultimate sign of trust. One account, one password, one financial life. And if you keep anything separate, well, you must be hiding something. That idea has been drilled into couples for decades by well-meaning parents, romantic comedies, and frankly, banks that profit when you merge your money. But here's what nobody in your family dinner, your relationship podcast, or your couples therapist is telling you. The couples who never fight about money. The ones who stay together longer, build more wealth, and report higher relationship satisfaction. Almost all have one thing in common. They each have an account the other person doesn't control. And no, this isn't about secrecy, deception, or planning an exit. This is about something far more powerful. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why financial autonomy isn't a threat to your relationship. It is your relationship. Stay with me, because in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you the data, the psychology, and the practical framework that financially savvy couples are already using, and most people are too afraid to talk about. Let's start with a number that should terrify you. According to a survey by Money Magazine, 70% of married couples argue about money, more than chores, more than parenting, and more than intimacy. 70%. And the number one trigger? One partner feeling like they have to ask permission to spend money that both people technically earned. Think about that for a second. You're a grown adult. Maybe you've had a career for years, and suddenly, buying a birthday gift for your own mother feels like it needs a board meeting. Now here's the thing. Most couples don't fight because they're incompatible. They fight because they set up a financial system designed for conflict, and then wonder why conflict shows up like clockwork. And that brings us to the question at the center of this video. Not whether you should have a separate account, but why the resistance to it reveals something much deeper about how we've been conditioned to think about love and money. Point 1. The psychology of financial autonomy. Here's something relationship researchers have known for years, but rarely say out loud. Financial dependence is one of the most silent sources of resentment in long-term relationships. Dr. Terry Orbush, a sociologist who spent over 25 years studying couples, found that partners who maintained some degree of financial independence reported significantly higher levels of relationship happiness than those who were fully financially merged. Why? Because autonomy is a fundamental human psychological need. When you feel like you can't make a $50 decision without a conversation, your brain starts to register the relationship itself as a constraint, not a partnership, a cage. Look, nobody falls in love thinking, I really hope this person approves my Amazon cart someday. But that's exactly where a lot of relationships end up. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. But doesn't a separate account mean we're not really together? Great question. And the answer is actually the opposite of what you'd expect. Point 2, what the data actually says. Now here's where it gets interesting. And I want to be straight with you, because most finance channels won't be. The majority of studies on couples and bank accounts do show that fully merged finances correlate with higher relationship satisfaction. That part is real. Researchers at Indiana University and Cornell have documented it across thousands of couples. But here's what those same researchers said in the same papers. And this is the part that never makes the headline. Jenny Olson, the lead researcher from Indiana University's Kelley School of Business, explicitly flagged that merging all finances can place people at risk for, and I'm quoting directly here, controlling behavior or financial abuse. And a peer-reviewed study published in the Journal of Family Relations, analyzing data from over 1,500 couples, found that when there is a significant income imbalance between partners, fully pooled finances can actually reduce the lower-earning partner's autonomy, satisfaction, and sense of equality in the relationship. So the same system that makes high-income, balanced couples happier can quietly disempower couples where one person earns significantly more. Which, by the way, describes most American households. The research doesn't say separate accounts are always better. What it actually says, when you read past the headline, is that the right financial structure depends entirely on the power dynamics inside that specific relationship. And that nuance is exactly why a personal account isn't about distrust. It's about designing a system that protects both people, regardless of who earns more. But here's what neither of those studies fully prepared me for. The specific real-world situations where not having a separate account has quietly derailed lives that looked perfectly fine from the outside. And we're going there next. Point 3, the risk you're not seeing. Let's talk about risk. Real risk, the kind that doesn't announce itself. Scenario 1, a partner loses their job. Suddenly, the household runs on one income. If there's no financial buffer that belongs to you, not the household, not the couple, your ability to make independent decisions disappears overnight. Scenario 2, a medical emergency, a family obligation, a career pivot. Life doesn't always give you time to call a financial summit with your partner before you need to move. Scenario 3, and this is the one people don't like to hear. Approximately 1 in 2 American marriages ends in divorce. Financial abuse, where one partner controls all access to money, is reported in nearly 99% of domestic abuse cases according to the National Network to End Domestic Violence. A separate account isn't a plan to leave. It's the same reason you have a fire extinguisher you hope to never use. And before anyone in the comments comes for me, yes, both partners benefit from this. This isn't a gender issue. This is a human issue. So now that we've established why this matters, let's get into the part that most videos skip, how you actually do this without it turning into a relationship conversation you dread. Point 4, the framework, how to do it right. The 3-account model is simple, and it works. Account 1, your joint account. This is where shared expenses live. Rent or mortgage, utilities, groceries, subscriptions you both use. Both partners contribute proportionally to income. Account 2, partner A's personal account. Money that belongs to them. No justification required. Account 3, partner B's personal account. Same deal. The key is agreement on the split upfront. Some couples do 70% to joint, 30% personal. Others do 60/40ths. The number matters less than the clarity when the rules are defined in advance. Money stops being a recurring argument and becomes a system. And here's what's interesting. Couples who implement this model often report that they actually talk about money more, not because they have to, but because the tension is gone. It becomes a conversation instead of a confrontation. But there's one critical mistake people make when setting this up, and it silently undermines the whole thing. I'll cover that in just a second, right after the most important piece. Point 5, the emotional truth behind it all. Here's the deeper truth that all of this points to. Financial intimacy and financial autonomy are not opposites. They are partners. The goal isn't to hide money. The goal is to build a relationship where neither person needs to hide anything, because the system is fair, transparent, and designed for 2 whole individuals, not one merged unit. The most financially healthy couples are ones where both people choose to be together every day, not ones where staying together is partly enforced by financial entanglement. And that choice is a lot more romantic than sharing a login. Now, that critical mistake I mentioned, it's this: keeping your separate account completely secret instead of openly agreed upon. The power of this model lives in transparency. Both people know the accounts exist. Both people agree to the structure. The separation is intentional, not hidden. The moment it becomes a secret you're keeping from your partner, not a boundary you've set with your partner, it becomes a problem. That distinction is everything. So let's bring this full circle. You don't need a secret account because your relationship is broken. You need a separate account because you're a whole person, with your own history, your own needs, your own career, and your own future, who has chosen to build something with another whole person. The healthiest financial setup isn't the one that proves how much you trust each other. It's the one that creates the conditions for that trust to thrive. Start the conversation. Set up the framework. Agree on the numbers. Not because you're planning for the worst, but because you're finally planning for the best now. If this video got you thinking about how you and your partner actually structure your finances, there's one more conversation you need to have. Because while having your own account is step 1, the bigger question is, should you be sharing a bank account with your partner at all? I've broken down the full case, the financial, emotional, and practical argument, in a video that's already up on this channel. It's called Stop Sharing a Bank Account with Your Partner, and I genuinely recommend watching it right after this one.